if I'm audible to everyone. All right, let's wait for another few minutes for everybody to join in. I think Akshay, Ankit, Murli, I think you all can hear me up. All right. All right, I had given you all some assignments, if I remember correctly. I have just got one response onto the assignment part. Can I have the reasons why the assignment was not taken care of? Murli, I haven't heard anything from you. Am I audible to you? Can you please respond back? All right. So let's talk about first of all the assignment. All right. I just got one email from Ajay, if I'm right. Ajay told me that he was not able to work on the assignment and he'll be submitting it by today, end of day. Apart from that, I haven't had any sort of responses. Murli, can you just let me know where had you sent that assignment to? On my email ID or say on support@edureka.in? Where had you sent that particular assignment? All right, that's the reason why I am not having it. Okay, no problems. I'll just check with support and I'll just see the assignment. I'll just check, Murli. No problems. All right. Ankit, Akshay, can I have responses on the assignment part from you all? Anyone? Go ahead, Akshay. What was the problem that you had with the question here? All right, you didn't get it properly. All right, I'll just show you exactly. I have a submission from Rojan. All right, I had a submission from Rojan. I had made a few changes to the submission. I think I should wait till the time Rojan comes back and joins us, because I think I'll let Rojan explain you that particular assignment. All right, if he's not coming in, say another 5 minutes, then I think I'll be explaining the assignment to you all. All right, I hope this sounds good to everyone. We'll wait for another few minutes as everybody has to join in, because today we are going to cover some good concepts. So I just assume that everybody has to join in so that we can just start up with the session. In the meanwhile, the other people are joining in. Have you tried something new? Has anybody tried something extra that they want to know, or they want to have some queries with, or anything that they feel like asking me up? Everyone, Ajay, Akshay, Ankit, Murli, anyone? Go ahead, Akshay. I haven't had any response from Ankit yet. Ankit, on the assignment part, I haven't had any response from you. Yes, Murli. All right, you tried switching activities. All right. Though we are going to cover it just now. If you talk about switching of activities, we are just going to cover it right now. All right, Rojan has also just joined in. All right, it's good that Rojan has joined in, because he will be the one who will be walking you through the assignment that he has submitted to me. All right. All right, Rojan, can you hear me up? All right, Rojan, I had seen your assignment. It is just that I had a few suggestions for you when I just saw the complete source code. This is the assignment that you submitted to me. All right, I have got it included. A few things. I'm seeing no comments at all. In this complete example, I'm not seeing any comment at all. Rojan, all right. So that is something that I think you need to work on it. Because let me tell you about few things. There are few utilities. If I talk about, I'll just give you all. One is JAutodoc. All right. This is a utility that you all can include inside your Eclipse projects, and just do a right click, and that utility will do auto commenting for everyone. All right, this is a util I think that you can use for generating all the comments by its own. You need not write all the comments again and again. And I was seeing few more things, like I had I have made those changes though. Alright, I was wondering how can you tell us the commands and functions of main activity more precisely? That will help me. What command and functions are you talking about? Say commenting multiple lines of code, Akshay. For example, if I have to comment multiple lines of code, I just select all the lines and do a control /. That is one shortcut that I use. In order to format the complete lines of code, I'll just do a Control A, Control Shift F. This will do the formatting for me. So these are various shortcuts, all right. And if I say in order to organize the imports, just do a Control A, Control Shift O. So this will do the organizing of all the imports for you. All right, Rojan, let's come back to your thing here. Variable naming is something that you need to look into in the coming assignments, all right. And apart from that, I think this is good for me. I just changed a few things, like I made the view gone instead of making it invisible. All right, Rojan. And one more thing, it's like whenever, if you see, this on item selector listener of yours was getting called even when the spinner was not in view. All right, so as soon as I started the activity, though the spinner was not in view, this still got called up. So what I have done is I have placed a check here. I just check whether my spinner is visible or not. Only if my spinner is visible, then only I'll be raising this toast notification. All right, so this is how I have dealt with it. Right now, let's. All right, Rojan, would you like to walk us through this complete assignment by yourself, or do you want me to walk you through? I think I'll give you an opportunity here. I want you to walk everybody through so that everybody understands what is the concept that you took. All right. Akshay says like find view by ID, on click, get set commands and all, like these are you are using in main active. All right. In order to do that, Akshay, what I do is, suppose I have to use a set orientation. So I say like this. I do a first and I do a control space, which gives me the layout. I do a dot and it gives me all the methods that are available to me. So if I want to have a method to say set orientation, all right, so I just do a control space and it will give me all the methods, and I just keep on writing and this will do the purpose for me. All right, just hold on a sec. All right, so I think this is how I'm doing it. It's control space, that is the shortcut. All right, I hope this is clear to you, Akshay, now. Can you respond back onto the chat window if this is clear to you? I think that is what you wanted, or was it something else? I hope I'm audible to everyone. Akshay? All right, where to use them and how to use them? All right, I'll just tell you. It's like whenever you have to create some class variables, this is the section that you'll be using for creating class variables. I'll just do a comment here. All right, so this is the place where you'll be doing all the class variables. And if I talk about, say, instantiation of all the objects, this is the place where you'll be doing the instantiation, or I would say assignment of all the variables. All right, so this is the place where you'll be doing the assignment. All right, is it necessary to set ID for the layout explicitly? It depends. Ajay, if you are doing anything like which requires dynamic UIs, right, then I think you have to set the ID from the code. But if you are not using any dynamic UIs, you have to do it inside the XML file. Right? Let me show you this XML file. You see, my XML file does not contain anything at all. It just contains a text view. So Roger is not making use of XML file. All right? He's doing it all at runtime. So that is why he's able to get all the views generated dynamically, and that is what is being happening here. So if I talk about the grid view, you see grid view is already a dynamic view. All right. All right. So I'll unmute Rojan and I'll let you all I'll let Rojan explain what exactly he has created and how he has thought through the complete process. If you all want, I can just run it for you first, and then Rojan will be the one who will be explaining it to you. Let me do a run here. Alright, Sumanta has also just joined in. Alright, so here he has done it. What he has done is he has added up a dynamic grid view. Inside the grid view, he has placed 3 elements. One is the checkbox, one is the radio button, and one is the spinner. So if I click on checkbox, he'll be making one checkbox visible just beneath the grid view. Similarly, if I click on radio button, hey Sumanta, I think you have joined in late. We were just discussing the assignment that we had to cover last week. Alright, then let's talk about radio button. So if I click on the radio button, it will add up a radio button just beneath the grid view for me, and similarly it will add up a spinner for me. Let's take a running example for this. Here you see, if I click on checkbox, I have a toast notification and I have got a checkbox selected. If I click on radio button, the checkbox goes off and radio button comes into picture. If I click on spinner, and I think the spinner comes into picture and also the on selected item. Alright, so that is how he has placed with all the UI elements. Earlier what was happening was when Rojan had submitted the assignment, it was just that he had made these views invisible. Because of making these views invisible, radio button was supposedly added here, just beneath the checkbox. Similarly, spinner was supposedly added beneath, say, the space for checkbox and the space for radio button. So this is the change that I have done. I have just made a small change. The change requires that instead of setting every view invisible, you set a view to be gone. That is the only change, Rojan, that I have done. Alright? Alright, so here I'll unmute Rojan here. Alright, Rojan, can you just walk through us the complete example code? I want everybody to take a look at what exactly Rojan thought of when he was doing that. Alright, Rojan, we all can hear you.
Okay, so hi guys. Well, this example, as Amit was talking through, so the whole purpose of the assignment was that we would have certain choices as in a grid view, and we would have different views which we have already dealt with, like the checkbox and all those things. So once we click on those, it is just going to dynamically show, make those views which you have clicked on appear, and then you can have extra functionalities on those views. So that's what was the whole idea of the assignment. So what here I have done is I have initialized one grid view which has the required fields which we want, that is the required views which we want, which as you can see here there is a string array which I have created, the checkbox, radio button and spinner, as you all know. So what I have done is I have, to make them appear, I have just used the switch, the case statement, and have just just switched between these options. If it is a checkbox, there is basically the whole idea. There is one main view, inside which there is a child view. As you can see here, there is a one linear layout, which is you can see there is a first layout and second layout. So I assume, okay, the first layout is the main layout, which has these values, which is the checkbox, radio button, and the spinner, which are a grid view in it, which holds the grid view in it. After that, we have another view, which is the second layout, which has all the other things which are dynamically appearing. So what we do is we add the second layout to the first layout, and we are just okay, I think I've lost it here. So what is happening is when you choose on that, as I said, when you click, I think it's getting yeah.
Alright, I'll do it. No problems. No problems. I'll do it. Alright. I'll just mute. Alright, I'll let you unmute it, and I think we can talk. Alright. So what is exactly happening here is that I have a first layout. The first layout is holding the grid view. So if you see here, I have added up a first layout using a dynamic property of a creation of a linear layout. I set a linear orientation of this particular view to be vertical, so that every element that gets added up to this view dynamically should be added up one after the other. Similarly, I have created a second layout. This particular second layout of mine is holding all the assets, spinners, the checkboxes, the radio buttons and everything. Right? So this particular second layout is having a orientation as vertical. That is, if I have multiple items, I can add them up one after the other. I create a checkbox instance, give it a text that is checkbox, and give it an ID also, and attach an on-checked change listener to this particular checkbox. Similarly, I do it for a radio button, attach an on-checked change listener to a radio button. Similarly, I create a spinner, set an ID to the spinner, add adapter to the spinner, and just set on item selected listener to the spinner. So it's like I have built all the three views and I have attached the necessary actions that are required with those three views. Now what I'm doing is I'm adding them up to the second layout, the layout that is just beneath my first layout. All right. So I'm adding all the things here to the second layout. Again, I create another grid view, give it an adapter, give it an on-click listener, and give it an ID. So this grid view has to be added to my first layout, which is the first layout that is on the top. If you see here, I'll just run it again. That is something, Akshay, which is implied, like set text, get text are the properties of the widgets itself. All right, so that is very familiar terminology. So that's why I never talked about it. All right, but these are very familiar concepts. So I think everybody can look into these concepts. So here, if you see, this particular one is my layout one, this one that you're seeing. Once I click here, this is something which is layout 2. So I add up everything to layout 1. I'll show you here. I added the grid view to the first layout, set the visibility of the checkbox, the radio button and the spinner to gone. And here I add up the second layout that you're seeing here at the bottom. I added up to the first layout so that I have a single layout in place. Finally, what I'm doing is just set the content view to my first layout, that is holding everything. I hope this is clear to everyone. Any doubts, any queries till this point of time? Akshay, I hope your query got resolved. It's like set text and get text are the things that everybody uses. All right, set content view. Ajay, if you remember in the last activity that we were doing, the set content view was something which was giving a layout to the file, to the activity. Is that correct? All right. So here what I have a linear layout as the layout to the file, right? Which is created at runtime. It is not utilizing the XML file anymore. It is doing something which is created at runtime. So here what I'm saying is I have created the layout, I have added views to the layout, and finally I say set the content view to this first layout, that is the one that I have created. All right, so that is what set content view is doing here, Ajay. It's not loading anything from the XML, it is loading the view that I have created at runtime. Apart from that, all the click listeners, the on-checked change listener, if my button ID equal to 1, that is I have clicked on the checkbox. So you raise a toast notification, checkbox selected. If my button ID equal to 2, I raise a toast notification that radio button has been selected, right? Similarly on item selected, spinner item selected, and here on the item click listener of the grid view, what am I doing? See, if my ID is equal to 4, right? If my ID is equal to 4, that is I have selected onto the grid view. I say toast.make text that you have chosen the grid view. I don't have any idea about set visibility. Set text is it like I need to read it from any book? Akshay, it's like they are a set of APIs. I hope I'm audible to everyone, right? Can you all just respond back if I'm audible to everyone? All right. It is a set of APIs, Akshay. It's like something if you're working with an edit text. It has got a few attribute set. All right. So if you talk about those attribute sets, I think that in order to learn that, you have to study the API. Let me show you how you can study that. What you need to do is just go to Google and say, type here You type text view. Right, so this is the API that I'm talking about. It gives you all the methods that are associated with a text view. It gives you all the overridden methods. You see, there are various attributes that come under the text view. Alright, so it gives you everything. Whatever you want to read about a particular text view, it will give you everything about in respect to a text view. Ajay, so I think this is the reference that you can have. It's developer.android.com, and you can take all the references from this place about, say, get text, set text, and all kinds of stuff, or the set visibilities. All right, I hope this is clear to you now, Akshay, where you'll be finding all the references. All right, so here I say, if my parent ID is equal to, if my get ID is equal to 4, that means I have selected on the list view, or say a grid view. I just raise a toast notification. I check whether my checkbox is equal to the position that is being selected. So whatever was selected from the grid view, I check whether if it is checkbox. I just set the visibility to be visibility of the checkbox to be visible, and rest all should go as gone. Similarly, if it is a radio button, it should go as visible. Other than the other elements are apart from the radio button should go gone. And similarly for this pillar. So that is what he has done here. I hope Rojan, I have done justice with the complete assignment here. All right. So that is how he has worked on it. All right. So radio button, spinner, and similarly a checkbox. And this was the assignment that I had given to you all. I hope this assignment is clear to everyone, what exactly you need to do and how are you going to tackle this up. Any person having any doubts, any queries in the assignment submitted by Rojan, you can respond back onto the chat window. So Manta, you have just joined in late. I hope this is clear to you as well. Deepu Anand, can you hear me out? Because I haven't heard anything from you yet. Srinivas, I hope you are here with me. All right. So, Srinivas, are you not here with me, or have you understood everything? Samantha, I just do not remember. Had you sent the mail to my email ID? I'll just check it up, Samantha. I think I might have missed out on your email. I'll just check it up and respond back onto your email. All right. I'm using mob internet. All right, got it, Srinivas, I got it. If ID equal to 4 for the view selected and linear layout, that's correct. If you see here, I'm giving a grid view an ID of my own. If you see here, can you check this up, Ajay? All right, so I just check whether I have got the ID like this or not. All right, Sumanta, I think I have missed out on the email. Don't worry, I'll just get back to you after reading the mail. Even if I have not received it, I'll just reply with your email. All right. So here you see gridview.setID is 4. I'm just checking this ID, whichever I had set is the same ID being fetched up. So that is what I'm doing here. Ajay. I hope this is clear to everyone. Any person having any doubts in the assignment that is submitted to me by Rojan here? Rojan, what I would also suggest is that you can also upload this assignment, say, onto the Edureka forum. Can you upload this assignment for me? So that everybody can also look into the code, because this code we might not be sharing with everyone. So everybody can look into it. All right, so let's start with these topics that we have to cover today in our class. So at present, what we have done is we have just covered one single activity. We have not covered multiple activities in any of the applications. But whenever we create Android applications, it's necessary that we have more than one activities or more than one screens inside our application. In order to do that, what we require is we require an intent. Intents are something which actually derive the complete process of application flow. An intent is an abstract description of an operation to be performed. For example, if I want to start a new activity, I'll be passing an intent to it, identifying which activity has to be started, and secondly, which activity is starting it up. So it represents the late runtime binding between the code in different applications. So everything, the late runtime binding that has to take place in the code is taken place with help of intents. Its most significant uses in the launching of activities. That is, if you want one activity to start off another activity, so that is where intent comes into picture. So let's talk about switching between activities, and I'll just talk you about intents, how we'll be using intents in switching between activities. So any Android application will comprise of many activities, but how do they interact with one another is something that is taken care of by the intents. Let's see an example here. Here I give it, say, switch. Alright, so here I have created a switch activity. Alright, under the main activity, I'll just go to the graphical representation, remove the hello world from here, and I'll add a few views here. Right, I'll go to the graphical layout again, I'll add up a large text view here, then I'll add up a button beneath that. In the large text view, I'll add up some text which says this is activity 1, for example, and I'll say, or what I'll also do is I'll add up a text field also. I'll put the button down. Alright, so here I have the text field, here I have the button. Alright, so inside the button I'm going to add a text which says launch activity 2. Alright, so here I'll be launching the activity 2 from here, on click of the button. Then if I have to launch an activity, I have to have an activity also. Let's go here. Call this class as second activity. Alright, once I do that, click on finish. So every activity of mine has to extend what class? Anyone? I need responses, guys, very quick. I think this is very basic that we are covering today. That's correct, Ajay. So it has to extend the activity class. Once I do the extension, I have leverage of using the overridden methods. So here I say add up an on create to this. Right, once I have added up the on create, what I also need, I need a set content view. Right, so let's go on to layout file, go on to new, go on to Android XML file, go on to linear layout, give it a file name, I say second layout. Once I'm done, I click on next, I click on finish. So this will add up a second layout to me. Let's do something here. Let's add up a text and I'll add up another text view. The first text view should contain this is second activity. Alright, and I'll just leave this text view as blank as of now. I'll show you what I actually mean by this text view and how I'll be using it later. Alright, so I have created an activity. I have to just set the content view here. r.layout.second layout. So this is all done. Alright, I have created two activities. I have added up layouts for both the two activities. Now I have to add up the button click listeners to these activities. Alright, so let's add up the button click listener. First of all, I'll be adding an edit text. I'll show you why am I using or creating an edit text here. Alright, create another object referenced and I call it button launch. it already has a set content view, Akshay. It already has a set content view. You see, the first activity already has a set content view. Just let me know if there is any sort of doubt that you have. Edit text has to have reference from the XML. I do an edit text, I do a find view by ID. I say r.id. Edit text 1. Alright, similarly I do a button launch. Button, I do a find view by ID. I say r.id. Button 1. Once I have done that, I need to associate a button click listener. Alright, so let's do a button click listener here. Let's do it in line because I just need one. So let's do it in line. Right, terminate this with a semicolon here. Do the necessary imports. Once I'm done, what I need to do here, on the button launch click listener, I have to launch the second activity. So let's create an intent first, because I'll be requiring an intent in order to launch the second activity. Alright, here my new intent will take in as an input arguments two variables. Right, let's first do the import for intent. First it will be taking is the calling activity, which is main activity dot this. The second argument has to be the activity that is getting called. So here I say the activity that has to be called up is second activity dot class. Now here's the question for everyone. Why is my second activity being referenced with the help of a dot class file? Anyone? This is very basic Java question here for everyone. What do I have? No, Rojan, it's not reflection here. We'll be using dynamically, not exactly, because you don't have an object, you need a class type. I would say I would take it like that. Murli, I'll take it like that. It's like at present what I'm having is I'm having just the class version of the file. Alright, just after compilation I do not know whether this particular file will raise an exception to me or not. So that is why if one class is just compiled, any .java file after compilation is what is it called? Any .java file after compilation, just after compilation. Ajay, that's correct. It is called a bytecode, but after conversion it is majorly called a class file. Right? That is correct. It is a .class file. So that is what I'm doing. I'm just checking it for compilation. So that's why I'm using it a .class, because I'm not sure whether this activity is going to raise an exception at runtime or not. Got it? So that is the reason why I have a .class variable or suffix to every single activity that is supposed to be launched. I hope this is clear to everyone. Any person having any doubts here? Now let's do something else. So here I have started the activity with the particular intent. My second activity contains the layout. Everything looks good to me. Should it run fine or should it give me an exception? Everyone. Just I just want to have everybody's take on this. Will it run fine or will it give me an exception? Alright, Murli says it will run fine. Alright, Rajan, I'll tell you why you're not sure. I'll just let you know about. If I try to run this as an Android application, let's see what happens. Alright, so here I have, this is activity 1. What will happen if I launch activity 2? It will give me a crash. why has it given me a crash is something that I have to look into the logcat for. So I go on to the DDMS here, I go on to logcat here, I add it up here, and let's see what this logcat tells me, because I did everything right, but I don't know why it has got a crash here. So it says unable to find explicit activity class, which is com.example.switchActivity.secondActivity. And what it tells me also is, have you declared this activity in your Android manifest.xml? I hope now everybody remembers that when I was telling you about the manifest file, every single application, if it has 10 activities, the manifest file contains entry for those 10 activities. Everybody remembers that? Alright, so what I have done is, though I have created an activity, but I have forgot to define this activity inside my manifest. So once I go here, I go on to manifest, I'll just copy this complete code, remove the filters from it, because the filters have to be for only the one activity. Alright, give it a name. So now my name is, instead of the main activity, the name is second activity. Right? So now it is second activity, and application name can remain the same. Now I'm just assuming that since I have declared this in manifest, it should work fine for me, and it will not give me a crash here. Let's see this up. So here if I click on launch activity 2, it will launch the activity very fine. And you can see that this is the second activity that I wanted to show or display onto the screen. So if I press back, what should happen? It will take me to the first activity. Everybody knows about the activity stack here? Can everybody? Alright, I'll just show it to you. Alright, I have a complete application. My complete application has 3 activities, for example. My first activity calls the second activity. My second activity calls the third activity. So there is an activity stack that keeps on going here, like this. Alright, when only one will be in view, it will be having an activity stack with activity 1. As soon as second enters, this will go like this. As soon as third enters, I hope everybody understands this stack concept. Last in, first out, right? So here I say, I have added 3 stack components to it. Now whenever I'll be pressing the hardware back button, what will happen is the stack will start getting cleaned up. This will be popped out. Similarly, this will be popped out. And finally, this will be popped out. And when stack is empty, the application closes down. So once I press a back, what happens is, since I'm having 2 activities here, once I press a back, it takes me to the first one. Once I press a back on the first one, it will exit the application. Alright, so that is how the activity stacks behaves. It's like how to pop one programmatically. Alright, Murli says, how do I pop particular activity programmatically? Murli, in that case, you have to call a finish. Whenever you will be calling a finish, for example, you can call a finish on the second activity. Once you call a finish, this activity will close itself down. So let me show you how it handles up. Now what you'll see is, once you click on the switch activity button, it will try to launch the second activity, but as soon as it gets launched, it will finish the second activity. So you can forcefully, alright. So if I have 1, 2, 3 to 4, and I'll go back 4 to 3, that's correct. You go back 4 to 3. If I click here, you see I'll be on the same screen. Murli. Reason being, I have finished that activity as soon as it got launched. If you want to go like this, for example, you are going to 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, and so on. Right? Now you want to go to from 4 to 1. You want to go it like this, 4 to 1. Then what you need to do is, instead of working with the back button, you have to call the activity again. using the same intent mechanism. Is it possible to, on launching the second activity, I want to finish the first one? That's correct, Sumanta. In order to do that, this finish will go from here, and as soon as you launch the activity, just remember, as soon as you start the activity, just do a finish here. And let me show you how it works. So now pressing back button on the second activity will close the application because there will be only one activity in the stack. So here if I launch, it will launch the second. If I press back, it will quit the application. So Manta, because the first activity is not in place now. All right, Akshay, what is that? We'll provide an option like go to home page. What is that? Are you talking about some particular activity that has to go on as a home page? That's correct. That's correct. That can be achieved with the help of intents also, right? That's correct. Akshay, can you just respond back? What exactly is the query that you had? Now, for example, if I want to go directly to page 1, in that case, Akshay, what you need to do is, suppose there has to be some option, all right? If you want to go on the back pressed, for example, if you want to go on the back pressed of the fourth activity, all right? If there is a button, then you can always launch an intent, Akshay. If there is an option like you have to go to home page, there might be a button that takes the event for going on to the home page. You can just do a intent and call the start activity for intent with this called activity, the home page activity. That is very easy option of going about it. I hope this is clear to you, Akshay. What exactly is the phenomena of doing that? Like the way I'm calling the second activity here, you'll be calling the home activity here. All right, no problems. All right, so that is how we switch between activities. But sometimes what happens is we might be required, right? We might be required to pass some data from one activity to another, which is a normal case. Like suppose if a user has logged in, all right? I want to show on the second screen which user has logged in, a very common phenomena, all right? So any Android application will comprise of many activities, and there comes a need. I'm not able to follow class because of poor, I guess I'll have to go through. No problem, Srinivas. I think you can go through the recorded session. If you face any problems, just write me an email and I'll respond back to your queries. All right, so the data needs to be sent from one activity to another sometimes. So how we send the data from one activity to another is something which we'll see now. If you all remember, I had added an edit text here onto my main activity, right? Let's do some playing with this edit text now. I say on the button launch, I'm launching an intent, but I'm sending some extra values with the intent. Let's see how am I doing that. So here I say intent dot what extra. I give it a name. So whenever I have to put something extra to be sent over from one intent to another, the way to do it is a key value mapping. So I say intent.put extra, I say edit text value. Here I say edit text value, right? Now the value has to go in here, which says edit text dot get text dot toString. All right, once I have sent over this value, I need to return this value or retrieve this value from the called activity. I have placed this value down. In the second activity, I have to retrieve it back. So here I create a bundle. Here I create a bundle. So I have to catch the value in a bundle. So I say bundle equal to get intent, which is getting from the called activity, dot get extras. Right? So now my bundle contains all the values that have been passed from one activity to another. So I need not necessarily pass only one value. I can pass n number of values. As many number of objects I want to pass, I can pass them through the intent. Only the key name will vary. Alright? So I say bundle, or I would just use a text view here, the one that I had created and I left that blank, if you all remember. I say call it text sent and do an initialization. Text view, do a typecasting here, find a view by ID. I say r.id.textview2. Once I do, I have to set this text to the text view. So I say text view dot set text. Alright, I have just set text with the char sequence. Char sequence will be returned to me by the bundle. I'll tell you about that bundle. Just a moment, Akshay, I'll tell you about the bundle. And I have to pass in the key here. Alright, let's talk about bundle in its literal sense. What one can think of what exactly a bundle is, Akshay? What do you think when you call something a bundle? It's like collection, right? It's like collection of objects. So what exactly is being done here is, that's correct, it's like a grouping of something. So I'm placing intent with some extras values, right? So whenever I have to retrieve the value back, I retrieve it back as a bundle. That is, I need, since I'm passing just one here, but I might be passing 10 objects from here, all right, depending upon the complexity of the application. So I need to get all these things as a composite unit. So the bundle is the composite unit which can hold all the get intent extras, all right? So once the bundle holds all the intent extras, I can just retrieve them back by getting it like this. I say bundle.get string from, that is, it's like returning a key value from the key name. Alright, so that is what the bundle does here, Akshay. I just run this up. So whatever value is there in my edit text will be passed on to my second activity. Extras, as I said, whenever you have passed on an intent, alright, you are passing some extra value with the intent. So here you see, in order to retrieve back information from the intent, I'm getting all the intent extras in the bundle. I'm not getting the complete intent inside the bundle. I'm saying get only the extras that are sent along with the intent to the bundle. Got my point here, Akshay? If I click on launch activity 2, and you can see that the value that was passed on from first activity is being contained in the second activity. Can we pass only text or a whole view reference to using intent.put extra? In that case, Rojan, I would suggest that whenever you have to pass in a view, right, you cannot pass in a view using intent extras, but you have to create a method which will make use of the same view. Like any public method inside the activity, or say any Java helper class, you can create a Java helper class and then you can go with it. Can I pass a user-defined class objects using bundle? In that case, Sumanta, you need to make it parsable. So your user-defined class variable has to implement the parsable interface. Once it is there, you can use it like this. I say intent put extra. Here you see a parsable one which says this, alright? So you can use it with the parsable value, right? So that is how you can do that. All right. This is the one that you can use. Implement the parsable interface on the object, and then the same object can be sent over the wire from intent to intent. All right. All right. Ajay, all right. Can we retrieve more than one text value from one activity to another? That's correct, Ajay. As I said, instead of using this one, you can pass on multiple values, like put on multiple intent extras, just differentiate them on the basis of key name. Edit val 2. This is how you can send it over. And when you'll be retrieving it back, you'll be retrieving it back using the same key name. How will I get the idea that this particular type is to be used? It's like whichever object that you are going to send, Akshay, has to be known. Like suppose you want to send a Boolean object. All right, so you'll be using intent.putExtra like this. I'll just show you. I'll be doing a intent.putExtra. You can see that if you want to pass on a Boolean value, you'll use this one. If you pass on a byte value, you'll use this one. If you want to pass on a byte array, then you will use this one. So there are various options that are available to you in order to pass values from one activity to another. All right, so this is how we switch between activities and also send over data from one activity to another. As I said, bundle is generally used to pass data between activities. It can hold all types of values and can pass them to the new activity. How you have to retrieve it back? You say bundle extras equal to intent.get extras, data received equal to extras.get string with the key name. Now let's talk about something more significant. So if I say I'm having 20 activities in my application and I'm actually getting the user input from the very first activity, all right, and I'm switching from 1 to 20th activity one by one, but I need to show the user input that whatever user had inputted in my 20th activity. So should I be walking through? Does a bundle is a common value stack that can share? That's correct, Sumanta. That is how a bundle behaves. All right. If I want to have the value that was captured in first screen and I want to have it back on the 20th screen, should this method of passing values from one activity to another work for me, or should I think about some other way? Can anybody respond back? It's like 20 activities, data being captured in the first activity and has to be shown on the 20th activity. Is this a logical way of doing things? Rojan says you can use the database. That's correct. Rojan, that is another option. What if I say I can store something into a data file, into an XML file, into an application file? What about that? I can write a file and I can store some value onto the file. So that similar object creation, or say a data handling mechanism, is called the shared preferences. So the shared preferences is an Android inbuilt XML files creation structure. All right, it provides a way to capture user preferences on the settings of a specific application or an app. It's like, let me show you something. Here I have the application, all right. My application makes use of a file. That particular file is residing under my application folder, which is, for example, com.example.edureka. All right, so this is the package that is being housed, and this application of mine is writing something to an XML file. It need not necessarily be only one object. It need not necessarily be multiple objects, right? So it's like whatever values I have to, suppose, I think one said about a session. For example, I'm logging into my Facebook account and I'm having to preserve the session in my application. So this, whenever I use the Facebook SDK in my application, I get a session key from the Facebook API, all right? So if I have to use that session key in all the activities, that is, suppose I want to post something onto Facebook from all the activities. What I should do is I should write back that information onto a file system, right? So I say AA232, any Facebook session ID I have, and I just write it somewhere onto my file system, and whenever I have to use this session ID, I just retrieve it back from the file system. Not exactly a cookie. It's not exactly a cookie, Akshay. It's more so writing something to a file system and retrieving it back from it. But this file system that we are writing or retrieving back is automatically managed by the Android framework. I hope this example is clear to everyone. Any person having any doubts in understanding this shared preferences conceptual implementation? Though I'll give you a practical implementation right now, but about the conceptual implementation. So let's see an example. I have already created an example just in order to save some time here. All right. So I have a main activity. Inside my main activity, I have a layout, something which looks like this. It has got a username label. It has got a username entry. It has got a password label. It has got a password entry. Then it has got a remember me checkbox. So whenever I have to check on the checkbox, my values should get stored in my database or say in my file system. And whenever I want to retrieve it back, I should be able to retrieve it back. All right, so let's see what I have done here. So here what I have done is I have taken all the object references, the buttons, the edit texts, and the checkboxes. Set the content view, get the object references like this, right? Then I have created a method which will be reading back information from the file. I do not need it right now. I'll be first saving the information. I have a sign in on click listener. I check in my sign in on click listener if my checkbox is checked. That is only if my checkbox or say remember me, then only I'll be storing the information. Here you see a shared preferences object which is called a settings object. What this object will do is it will get the shared preferences from the file which is named user input. If it is not present, if this file is not present, it will create one. Alright, so it's like if not present, a create mode operation. And then it has got two parameters. One is the name and then is the mode. Mode is like what mode you want to open it in. Say a write mode, a read mode, and kinds of stuff. Alright, so write mode, if I'm opening it in a write mode, I'll be giving it a mode 0. I say share preferences editor, then what I have got the reference of the file system. But then I need to make editing onto the file system. If it is present, I have to edit the already present values. If it is not, I have to write in the new values. I create an editor object which is going to edit the values from the shared preferences. I then say editor.put a string, key name is username, and value has to go in whatever is in edit text name. Similarly, the key name is user pass and the value that has to go in here is the edit text password. And then finally commit the changes to the editor. Alright, so that is what I have to do. Once I have committed the changes, the file will get saved. Let me show you that by running it up. So I might be reading it back in the same activity, right? Let me just do it up. All right, let me just do this particular one up, uninstall. And then this already contains this file of shared preferences. Let's do an uninstall on that. Let's uninstall this application and then start the another one. So this will launch the second one, and then I'll show you the running example of it. Alright, so this is my username and password. So if I key in my username Amit, if I key in my password as Sharma, for example, I click on the remember me and I click on sign in. As soon as I click on sign in, it will have created a shared preferences file for me. Let's see whether it has created one or not. See my package, example.sample shared preferences. Go on to the DVMS mode, go on to the file explorer, go on to mount, or sorry, go on to data. Under the data, you have to find another data folder. Find out the package. Here is the package. Go on to the shared preferences folder. Under that, you find a file which says user input. Let's pull it out and show you onto the desktop. So here is my user input file. Let's see what this file contains. So this file contains two strings here contained in a map object, which says a user pass, alright, I say a user pass. Alright, let's just first of all install this particular crap here. Alright, you can see that it has got a map which contains two key names and two key values against this. The key name is user pass and the value is Sharma, and the key name is username and the value is Amit. So it has stored something onto the XML construct for me, but I also need to read it back. Let's see how I can read it back. In order to read back, I have just uncommented a method. If you see, I just have to uncomment this method which says read the credentials. In this method, what am I doing? Again, getting the shared preferences, alright, in the settings object, and just using the settings object to give me the values that are there present on the screen. So if a value is not found with this key name, it will return this value. If a value is found within this key name, it will return the normal value. Let me show you why this is running up. Now I'll be reading back as well. So this particular file, is it possible to save and retrieve data, encrypted data with shared preferences? That's correct, Samantha. In order to do that, let me tell you, we support MD5 encryption in Android applications. All right, you have to create an MD5 encryption first of all, and you can see that the value is being populated here. All right, let's go back to Samantha's query here. Samantha, in order, first of all, let me tell you a few things. Shared preferences files are not user accessible. Few things, like if you want to know about it, the shared preferences files are stored in the application folder, and application folder is inaccessible to the user unless you are a root user. First thing. But if you still want to save up information in an encrypted manner, what you can do is you can use the MD5 encryption. While saving it up onto the shared preferences file, do an encryption on using the MD5. While retrieving it back, do an decryption on the MD5, and it will return you the same value. Right? So that is how you can do the MD5 encryption and decryption also. All right. If you want my help in that, Sumanta, I can share you the MD5 encryption decryption class if you want that also. In fact, I'll share it with everyone. All right. Just by end of this class, I'll share with everyone an MD5 encrypt and decrypt class. All right. So that is how a shared preferences works. So I'll let you all take a look here at this example code, and if you have any doubts, any queries, any questions, you can ask me onto the chat window. Here is the code. Just go through it once, everyone, and just ask me any question that you see by looking at the code. And let me know whenever isn't MD5 one way. No, Murli, you can always decrypt and encrypt MD5 certificates. It's like, I'll tell you, how are you going to work on it? First of all, whatever value you have in the edit text, you'll send over to the MD5 encryption so that it can be encrypted. Once you get the key after encryption, you just save that key. Once you want to retrieve it back, you retrieve back the encrypted key, do a decryption on the encrypted key, and it will return you the same value. Murli. That works, Murli. No doubts about that. We have done it in a lot, many types. Let me tell you about this. It's like whenever we store something into the database, like a username and a password, we always encrypt the password and then save it to the database. Alright, similarly, if I'm doing an encryption and decryption in terms of the password, the same way it works for the file system as well. But then you never decrypt using MD5. I'll just check, Murli, if you want me to check it up, I'll just do it for you. If you want me to check this up, I'll just do it for you. All right. Are you talking about in that sense? That's correct. Okay, I got it. It's like, that's correct. You cannot decrypt it up, but you check the values. You can check the values. That's correct. Whether the value that you have, all right. Got it. Okay. That is what you wanted. Okay. That's correct. All right. What Murli has said to me is that you can encrypt the entered password again and compare both the encrypted passwords. That's correct. That is how we do it. It's just, in my terms, I call it decryption. I just use the wrong word here, but that is correct. That is how we do it, Murli. That's correct. All right. So any person having any doubts in understanding the shared preferences here can respond back onto the chat window. Any person having any doubts in understanding the shared preferences mechanism of holding data inside the application folder can respond back onto the chat window. If this is all clear, I think we can move ahead with the other topics. Can I have responses back onto the chat window? Any doubts, any queries here? All right, let's move ahead then. So I've already told you an example of a shared preferences files here. Now let's talk about starting an activity for result. So now what we were doing was we were starting an activity, but the second activity was always in the purview. All right, it was always shown. But sometimes my application requires that suppose I open up an activity, as soon as I open up a list view, a user takes an action on the list view. For example, he clicks on some element in the list view. I just input that value from the list view to the input box. Many a times this kind of behavior happens. It's like I click on the button for selection, for example. All right, I'll just do it. I'll just give everybody my Skype ID here. I think I shared it in the last class as well. All right, no problems. All right, so this is my Skype ID, Akshay. All right, so I was telling you about starting an activity for result. So sometimes what happens is I click on a button. That button opens up a new activity. As soon as I take some action onto the new activity, I close that activity down and represent whatever information was selected up from the second activity to my first activity. All right, so in that kind of a condition, I have to start an activity for result. I have to start an activity for result because most application consists of multiple activities, and there comes a need for getting some result from the called activity. It could be a list item selector or anything, right? So how am I going to do that? First of all, I have to start the activity for result. Instead of the normal starting activity, I'll be using a start activity for result. Let me show you how am I doing it out. So here I have created two list activities, all right? One is the country list activity and one is the ranking list activity. And I'll be calling it up from a single activity. I'll show you how it works. So here my first activity that I'll be calling up contains two buttons. One is the countries button and one is the rank button. If I click on the countries button, it will open up a list activity for me which contains three countries: India, Australia, England. I click on Australia, this particular activity gets closed down and this activity shows me the result that was selected. Similarly, I do a rank. This activity closes down and it shows me the rank in the called activity. So how am I handling this up? It's something which I'm just going to show you all. So here I have the calling activity. My calling activity contains few things. See, I have got two static ends. That is, I'm using it as an identifier for the calling activity, right? Set the content view. My content view just contains two buttons. One is for the countries and one is for the rankings. Let it load up and I'll show you that. You can see that it contains two buttons, one for countries, one for ranking. I create a button, countries, and attach an on-click listener to it. See what am I doing here? I create an intent, country intent, calling activity, called activity. And see, I'm starting it for result. Just the difference between a start activity and a start activity for result. If I need to have some result from the called activity, I'll always use a start activity for result in order to get back the result from the called activity. Any person having any doubts in this particular line of code that I have selected here, you can respond back on the chat window. Though I'll show you the complete process, but just understand the difference between a start activity and a start activity for result. I hope everybody is here with me. All right, so here I have the start activity for result. I hope this is clear to everyone, right? The difference whenever I have to call the start activity in order to retrieve some result out of it. Similarly, I'm doing it for the button ranking. I say rank around click listener, start an activity for result. Just see what am I doing? Different selections. Just in order to know whichever activity is calling my start activity for result. Like if I'm having the country activity, so I'll check for the country selection. If I'm having the rank activity, I'll check for the rank selection. Because the two button click listeners are holding two different behaviors. So that's why I'm differentiating between these two activities in order to get their result differently. Then whenever I have created an activity for result, I have to create an overridden method on activity result inside my calling activity in order to handle the result that is being passed on from the called activity. It gives me three parameters. Request code. Request code, everybody knows, is the one that I'm just passing here. Check for the request code. Result code. Result code is something like whether everything went off fine or not. So what we usually do is, whenever we set a result in the called activity, that is in the country activity or in the ranking activity, whenever I'll be setting a result. All right. Whenever I'll be setting a result in the, say, country activity or say the ranking activity. If you see here, whenever a list item is getting selected, I'm setting a result. Can everybody check this up? I hope now it is fine. Akshay, any doubts, any queries here? So what I do is I check whether my result was okay or not. All right. If you see here, I'm checking my result code for an okay. That is what I have set after I selected something. I check for it. Then what I'm doing is I'm getting the name. whichever name was being passed on. If you see here, I'm passing on an intent to my calling activity. Can you see this up? On the list item click, I'll be getting the object that was selected. I convert that object to a string object and then send it over to my calling activity. Any person having any doubts here? Can I have some responses back onto the chat window very quick, so that I can just have the understanding whether this is understood or not. Alright, and I set the result to OK here, and I finish this activity. See, I'm doing a finish on this activity because I do not want this activity to be shown, right? Again, on the list activity, extending a list activity, getting an array list of objects, setting the list adapter, and here I say, give me the on item list click listener. Similarly for the ranking, extending the list activity, getting the on item click listener, working on the list activity. Doing the same process, setting the result to OK and giving it a rank object that whichever was selected. And calling is being done from this class. Handling the different results for different activities. I hope this is clear to everyone. Any person having any doubts here? Sure, I'll show you the code. In the country activity, alright, this is the code here, Rojan. On activity result parameters, I'll just cover that up again, Ajay. One is the request code, one is the result code, and the third one is the data that is being sent over from the called activity to the calling activity. Ajay. Request code, result code, and the data that is being sent over. That's correct. The data that is being sent over from country activity, that's correct. Here if you see at the bottom, you are putting in a data intent. Can you see this up? Whenever you are setting the result, you are also passing on our intent data to it. So that is the data that is being returned. That's correct, Akshay. It is calling the main activity. It is an overridden method here. It is an overridden method. It is an overridden method, Rojan. Alright, here I have done that. I hope this is clear to everyone. Any person having any doubts in understanding the start activity for result can respond back onto the chat window. I need responses back onto the chat window if there is any sort of doubt in understanding anything here. Let's close this all. Alright, how are you providing the result back to the calling activity? If you see here, Akshay, what I'm doing here in this on item list click listener is, I'm getting the object that was selected, converting that object to a string, and then I'm creating an intent here, which is being passed on to the set result method. Alright, so whenever I call an activity for result, I'll be calling the set result method inside that particular activity so that it notifies back to the calling activity whatever result was being sent here. I hope this is clear to you, Akshay, now. Just a little more clarity on the callback, as in which action makes it a mandate, as in which action makes it a mandatory implementation. Majorly, let me tell you about this. Majorly, this start activity for result, whenever you are doing that, you have to do two things. First of all, in the calling activity, you have to override the on activity result method, and inside the called activity, you have to set a result so that the calling activity can hold the result. Rojan. So that is the differences between these two. Whenever you start an activity for result, do an overriding of on activity result and also do a set result in the called activity. From where on activity result get parameter. All right, in that case, if you see here, Ajay, if you see here the request code, result code and the data, and data is in the form of intent, right? You see the result code, you see the data, and you see the request code from the country. Because if I'm getting the country ones done, all right, so the request code will automatically be the country one. All right, it is like whichever activity is being called is the one that is being used in the request code, right? And while handling the result, I'm just handling the data result. Ajay. All right, I hope this is clear to everyone how we can work around or say work with calling an activity for result, all right? So here, this is an example, and the example 2 is something which we'll cover with the help of content providers, all right? So we'll cover that up when we'll be covering the content providers, which will open up an image gallery view for everyone. That's correct. That's correct. Data is in the intent, and if you see request code is being passed on whenever I call a start activity for result. You see here, a request code is being passed on. So I'm checking for the request code, whether this particular request code matches or not. Similarly, this particular request code matches or not, Ajay. Now it is done. Ajay, I hope now it is visible to everyone. Let me show you a switching of screens here. Now you see the request code is the one that is being passed on. If you see here, the request code is the one that is being passed on whenever I'm starting an activity for result. All right, so that is how it is being handled now. All right, so let's talk about, then we'll be talking about notifications. So I think let's have a 10 minutes break here. And once we are back after the 10 minutes break, we'll be starting with notifications in Android applications. Notifications are something that you might have seen, say a message coming up, or say any new email that pops up onto the top of the window. How many of you have seen notifications in your Android devices? All right, so we'll talk about how exactly one works with those notifications. How are those notifications created, and how one raises a notification in order to alert a user about such conditions. All right, so let's take a 10 minutes break here and let's join back after 10 minutes. I hope this is fine with everyone. Let's have quick breakfast here within 10 minutes, and then we'll be back with the session.
विनीत, इससे क्या लेते हो? टीम व्यूअर आईडी?
Muted.
Alright everyone, I'm back here. I hope everybody can hear me up. Can I have responses back onto the chat window? If everybody can hear me up. I hope everybody is here. Alright. So let's continue. So we were talking about notifications in Android applications. Alright. So notification is something that you see on top of your screen. When you drag down on the window, that is your scroll bar, when you drag and drop your window, it shows you a notification. Alright. So whenever we have to show a notification, we make use of a notification manager class. Alright. So the notification manager class has to be used in this way. It's like create an object of notification manager, cast it with a notification manager using the system service for notification service. Alright. Whenever we use a notification manager, alright, so whenever we use a notification manager, we use a notification service for it. But in order to notify, what we also need is something that is not associated with an activity. Alright, so when I say I have to create a notification, that notification is nowhere associated with an activity, because it is not something that I'm governing by myself. Alright, so now whenever we use such a notification manager, we will be using a pending intent. Let me tell you what is the difference between a normal intent and a pending intent. Pending intent is something which does not have a context of its own. Whenever you create a pending intent, it does not require you have a context. It is just that a pending intent is used to specify the action which should be performed once the user selects the notification. Alright, so that is how we work with notification manager. You can receive the activity via the pending intent.get activity. So whichever activity started the pending intent, you can get the reference of that activity using the pending intent.get activity. Let me show you an example for this. Alright, so here I go with the notification sample here. Here I have created two activities. One is the notification activity and one is that activity which will be showing the notification. Alright. So here if I go take you to this layout of this particular activity, you see a graphical representation which says click on a button to generate a notification. Alright. Now I go on to the notifications.java. I have the button notification. I attach an on-click listener to the button notification. Now see what am I doing in this particular notification manager in order to make it work. Create an intent first of all. So I'll be calling any second activity. Alright. I'll be calling whenever I'll be calling a second activity, I need to have an intent which calls the second activity for me. Right. Create that intent. Create a pending intent. What this pending intent will do is it will take in the notification intent. See, it is taking as an input argument which takes following arguments. See, it gets the context first. So context is main notification activity.this, then a request code. So I can pass on the request code as 0. That is not a problem. Then the intent which has to be fired up whenever the pending notification appears. And the flags are also 0. because I do not use any flags at this point of time. So this is what I have to do in order to make this notification pending work. So I have the notification done. I have got the pending intent created for myself, right? Now I say create a notification which is going to be building up this notification for me, all right? And I say notification mail equal to new notification dot builder, which is taking the context here, the title here, the subject, the icons, and also the set content intent with the pending intent. Why am I setting the set content intent? Can anybody think about it? Anyone who can think about it? Why am I setting the set content intent? What does my pending intent contain overall? All right, I'll talk it like this. What does my pending intent contain here? It contains the intent for the activity. Is that correct? Can I have responses back onto the chat window? I hope I am audible to everyone. All right. So what does my pending intent contain here? What it contains? I hope everybody can hear me up, right? Can you all respond back if everyone can hear me up? I hope I'm audible to everyone. Can I have responses back onto the chat window if I'm audible to everyone? It's just that there's some lag here, I guess. It's some lag here. All right. So I was telling you about this GoToWebinar is just disconnecting every now and then. I hope everybody can hear me now. I just wanted to know it from because this GoToWebinar is showing me the audio is disconnected. Can I have responses back on the chat window because it is ultimately you who can just tell me about this. Am I audible to everyone? I don't know why it's disconnected now and then. Don't know what the problem here is, but it is again getting disconnected and connected back, getting disconnected, connected back. All right, I was telling you about the pending intent here. I hope all right, Akshay, you have lost the complete notification. Is that correct? Let's take it from the very beginning. I hope everybody can hear me now, right? Let's take it from the very beginning. So what I'm doing is get the button click listener. Inside the button click listener, I'm creating first of all an intent that will start the second activity, all right? Or my activity which is having notification clicked activity. I create an intent first, then I pass on that intent to a pending intent. Pending intent, as I said, does not require an activity of its own. So what it does is it pends the intent, that is it lets the intent hold some time, have some time of its own, and then show the activity at a particular moment. So that is the work that is done by the pending intent. Pending intent dot get activity notifications is the context. Then I have a request code. I pass in the request code as 0. Then I have an intent, right? So the intent is the one that I'm going to show as an activity. Again, the flag I can keep it as 0. That is not needed as of now. Create a notification manager using a notification builder. Notifications.this, the context, set the title, set the text, set the icon, and here you see a set content intent with the pending intent. Now my question to everyone was why am I using a set content intent with the pending intent? Anybody who can think about it? Can I have responses back onto the chat window if anybody who can think about it? Why am I using it as a set content intent? I hope I'm audible to everyone. Nobody responds back onto the chat window whenever I ask any question. I hope I'm audible to everyone. Alright, Murli says this intent is fired when the notification is clicked. That's correct. But what it is doing is majorly, Murli, it is actually loading an activity whenever you will be clicking on the intent. Because my pending intent contains an activity which is being driven from the intent that I passed on to the pending intent, right? So that activity will be launched up whenever I set the set content window. Alright, then I create a notification builder, create a notification manager, give it the notification builder, and ask the notification manager to notify using the notification mail, or say the builder one that I had created. Let me just run it up for everyone and show you how it looks like. I'll show you the declaration part. Just a moment, Ajay, I'll just show you the declaration part. Alright, so here you see, click me to generate a notification. As soon as I click here, can you see the notification on top? If I just drag down and I click here, it will show me an activity. Alright, it is showing me an activity which is driven by notification clicked activity. You can see that. Everybody understands how am I getting it done? So let me all show you the code here. And if you have any queries, anything, all right. Here you can see the notification declaration, all the coding. Just let me know whenever you are done so that I can scroll down. And if you have any questions, you can ask me onto the chat window. All right, so Rojan wants me to scroll down. I think everybody else is also done here. All right, so let's scroll down now. That's correct. I'll be sharing the code across, Akshay. I'll be sharing the code across. Sure, I can devote 5 minutes, Samantha. I think I have added you up on Skype. I think we can talk over on Skype for this problem of yours. All right. All right. Any questions, any queries in the notification manager or how we raise notifications in Android applications? You all can respond back onto the chat window. I think Ankit, you haven't had any questions in quite some time now. I hope everything is clear to you. That's correct. It is not the pending intent that is going to open the activity. It is going to be the intent only. But since that intent is contained in the pending intent, so that is what it is doing the work. All right, I hope that is clear to everyone. Does the notification close or finish automatically? Sumanta, on the click of the notification, what is happening is, if you see here, whenever the notification has to notify, a notification mail is having an intent for the pending intent. So as soon as I click on the notification, it will call an intent which will launch the second activity. All right, so once that action has been taken, that is the second activity has got launched, that notification will automatically disappear. That like what happens with messages and all. Once the action is taken against the messages or say emails, the notification just vanishes off automatically. Ajay, the notification manager works in this manner. It's like suppose your application wants to have some notifications to be shown to the user. For example, your application is downloading some data. All right. Once the application has got all the data downloaded, you can raise a notification on the top of the window which says the data download is complete. So that is what the notification manager majorly does. All right, so let's close this all. So as I said, all right, that the app needs to be in background while for the notification to happen. Not necessarily, Rojan, if you see my notification, the one that I raised was from within the application. So that is not a requirement. But let me tell you, whenever we are working with services, so services are the background tasks, right? So in that case, if you're working with services, then the notification has to go into the foreground without the application knowing, not being in the foreground. Very much like, I would say, the Gmail application, Rojan. What happens with the Gmail application is it syncs at the very time you give it the internet connection. Once you have the internet connection, it syncs up, it automatically raises a notification because that is working on a service. All right, so that is working on a service. So that's why the notification does not need any UI of its own. So the notification.builder allows you to define actions to the notification. A pending intent itself is simply a reference to a token that is maintained by the system. So pending intent is not associated with the activity itself. All right. Once you have created a pending intent, it is something that the system takes care of. This means that even if the owning applications process is killed, just understand these lines. The pending intent itself will remain usable from other processes. And a classic example of a pending intent is alarm manager. All right. Once I create an alarm, all right, once I have an alarm, I do not need anything. I do not need any application to be active. But once I have set the alarm for the pending intent keeps going on. So that is the mechanism that is used in the pending intents. I hope this is clear to everyone. The notification builder, the notifications and everything. Now let's talk about media. So wherever we'll be working with Android applications, we might be looking at sounds, we might be looking at videos, we might be looking at playing some sound files inside our application. So that all is taken care of with the media APIs in Android applications. So whenever I have to play a media, I have a media player API that I can make use of inside my application. I'll just show you an example for this. So media player is an easier way if you just want to play an audio file in the background or somewhere in the application. Media player file can be used to control the playback of audio and video files. Let me show you an example here so that it will be more clear to everyone. Alright, so here I have an audio player file. My audio player file implements the on-click listener. Right? See what my set content view contains here. It contains two buttons. One is play a song, then the second one is stopping that particular song. Alright, now I go on to the audio player, create a media player object, because whenever I have to play a song, I have to use a media player in order to play a song in Android applications. I say check for a status, whether my status is playing or pausing, so I can check this status using this Boolean flag. Set the click listeners, associate the click listeners onto the on-click view. Steve, what am I doing here? Button play. If my status equal to true, which is false from the very beginning, I'll just do a media player dot stop and also set the status equal to false. Otherwise, I'll just set the status equal to true. It's just that I'm ensuring that there are not multiple instances of media player running on the same object. When I click on play, so if it is already playing, it will stop the first instance and then start the new one. Alright, so that way it's working out. I say media player equal to media player dot create. It is going to take a song. So the song file that I have placed is under resources. Just remember, whenever you'll be playing any song file or say MP3 file or the 3GP files, you have to place them under a different folder. The folder naming convention for this is raw. Alright, so you'll go on to resources, go on to new folder and create a new folder which says RAW. Once you have created that, you will be playing your songs or say placing your songs inside the source raw folder. Here you say media player dot create raw song file using this context and start the media player. So I first of all fetch up the file that needs to be played up. Once I have fetched up the file that needs to be played up, I start the media player reference object onto it. Onto the button click listener for stop, I'm just stopping the media player. Let me show you how it works. It will take some time to load the APK because it also contains a song file with it. Alright, so it will be getting loaded with the APK, so that's why it will take some time to load the APK. How to work with multiple playable file. I'll tell you that, Akshay. I'll tell you about that also. I've also created a sample for that, in which case I won't be supplying the media player files. Alright, I won't be using files from raw folder. While what I'll be doing is I'll be asking the SD card to give me all the files and I'll play them one by one using a list view. I'll show you that example, Akshay. Just wait on for a second. Let's first of all run with a simple example and then I'll show you one which will require all the files being picked up from the media player or say from the external SD card and then play them one by one. Alright, you see here. Now if I click on play song, what will happen is it will first of all create a media player instance. It will check using my boolean whether it is working or not. So at very first time it will create a media player and start the media player. Let's see running this up. I click on play here and you all can listen to the song. Can everybody listen to the song? Can I have responses back onto the chat window? Alright. So it's like it is playing a song file now. Alright. Now if I want to stop the song file, all I need to do is I need to call media player.stop onto the button click listener. So if I click on stop, it will stop the media file for me. And you can see that now it is not playing up. Right. If I want to play it back, so it will again start from the very initial point where it had to start the song file from. So I hope now you people can integrate the media player libraries inside your application and get this working. Alright, so let's stop this song up here and now let's go back to I think Akshay's query. I have that workspace different, so let me just switch the workspace and show you. That's correct, Akshay, very good. Alright, so Akshay says in order to use the pause, then what we'll be doing is we'll be using another place. And in that case, Akshay, what you'll be doing is just this. Let me show you that. You need to just do mp.pause. And when you say do mp.pause and when you again click on mp.play or say start. Whenever you do a mp.start after an mp.pause, what will happen is it will create or start playing from the same point it had left off. Akshay. Alright, so it will use the same point as a reference where it was paused up. So that is automatically managed by the framework. Let's go back and have a simple example which will be utilizing the media player files that are present on the device's SD card, and I'll show you by playing every single one of them. Alright, so here I have a music player activity, right? Are you using MP just after, why are you using mp.start just after mp.pause? As I said, I just gave you an example, Akshay, right? In order to do a pause, just call mp.pause, right? And if you want to start playback again from the same position where it was paused off, so what you need to do is just call mp.start again, and it will use the same position where it was paused up. Alright, that's why I showed that to you. I hope this is clear to everyone. It's not specific to Akshay here. Alright, so here you see what I have done is I have created a main activity. Inside the main activity, first of all, take a media player object, and I have taken 3 array lists here. First one will give me all the titles. Second one will give me all the duration of the song files that I have placed on the emulator. Third array list will contain all the song files path, actual path where the song is placed. I have a list view, and I have created a method getMusic. I'll just come into this method in some time. Get the list view or reference from the XML file and call the getMusic method. What my getMusic method is doing is it is populating all these 3 array lists: the title, the duration, and the path. Let's see how it is doing that. Create a title using all the titles that I have, right? And here I'm doing a content provider. Let me tell you about content providers. Content providers are like something which is a single repository of data that is specific to the device. That is, for example, it could be all the images that are housed by the device. It could be all the contacts that are housed by the device, or it could be even all the song files that are housed by the device. So what we usually do is, instead of having our own database, we query the content provider to give us the data that is being housed by the device. Alright, so in order to do that, suppose there are 10 applications inside my device, and every 10 application want to have access to the content providers. So there we have a content resolver client object. Like if I have 10 applications and they want to have access to all the files or music files of the content provider, I'll be having 10 different object references of the content resolver just to let the content provider identify which application is requesting for a permission. Any person having any doubts in understanding the content provider and the content resolver references can respond back onto the chat window. Can I have responses back onto the chat window? Any sort of doubts, any sort of clarifications that are needed? But how will they get access one by one? Akshay, any point of time, as I said, since they are being requested from different clients, so different clients are having different handling mechanism. So there is no contradiction as such. It's like if a client is using one object reference of the content resolver, that is for that particular client. It does not affect the other applications. And that is the reason why we have started using content providers in Android application. So that every single application can have an independent identity. That independent identity is being provided to the application using a content resolver client interface. I hope now this is clear to you. Can I have responses back onto the chat window, Akshay? Alright. Let me also tell you, whenever we'll be doing a content provider query, here you see, I'm taking the data, I'm taking the title, and I'm taking the duration in order to give every single cursor object from the content provider. So I think this is all that is very complex at present, but just you wanted me to do it up, so that's why I'm showing it up. So it's a part of the coming packages, coming classes. What is media.data? It is the data file that is being contained here, Sumanta. It's like whatever is the media file that I'm going to pick up from. All right, I'll just run this example up and I'll explain this example later, because this is something which is very complex for you at this point of time. I'll just show you by running this example, all right? And we'll be covering it up in the coming classes. Just because Akshay wanted me to cover it up, I just started doing that, but I assume that it is a little complex for everyone. So what is happening presently is I'm having all the song files in my SD card, all right? I have pushed them all the song files in my emulator. And you can see these are the 4 songs that I have pushed. Now I'm querying up the content provider to give me all the song files. Once I have all the song files, I'll associate a media player object with the file path and just let it play the media file. Let me show you. When I click here, it will start the song file for me. I hope everybody can hear it up. Alright, so that is how am I doing it up. But what I would do in this case is I'll let you all cover this up in the coming classes. But for now, just remember that this is also a possibility that we can do, right? Instead of binding the media file along with us, we can always do it later, right? Alright, so this is how you can do it up using a media player file. Alright, now let's talk about something else. So this is how you'll be creating a media file object. Now let's talk about a video player. This is how we work with the media player object, but we also have to work with the video player object. Let me show you how you can work with the video player object as well. Let's switch our workspace now. I hope this is fairly easy. It's like, I hope the media player object reference is fairly easy for everybody to understand, right? Just let me know if there is any sort of clarifications that are needed. All right, let's take a look at the video player. In order to use a video player, I have to create a widget, which is called the video view widget, because it occupies some space on the view. So that's why what I need is a video view widget. And you can see that. I have a linear layout, I have a text view under it, and I also have a video view widget beneath that.